Chapter 1861. Jian Wushuang, Greatest Fighting Capabilities. The three Hongjun golden swords were like three written Taoist voodoos, and among them, two of them headed toward Emperor God Dan Tu and Emperor God Luoxian respectively. "It's too fast," Emperor God Luoxian could not help but murmur. Emperor God Dan Tu's expression was ghastly pale. However, as Emperor Gods, they could not go down without a fight. Hence, they unleashed their techniques to block the attack right away. Clang! Clang! Two heavy clashing sounds could be heard at the same time. The moment Emperor God Dan Tu and Emperor God Luoxiao clashed with the Hongjun golden swords, they were sent flying. However, while they were still flying and that they had not fully regained their posture yet, the two Hongjun golden swords shook slightly and attacked again. "Oh no! We are in huge trouble." Emperor God Dan Tu and Emperor God Luoxian had an extremely shocked expression. Although the attack force of the Hongjun golden swords had risen slightly compared to before, it did not rise by too much, and it was still within the acceptable range for the both of them. However, in terms of speed, back then, Jian Wushuang had merely unleashed his comprehension of the space-time doctrine, which was at the 7th level of the Doctrine Palace. Even then, the speed that he had unleashed had already caused them to be extremely frightened. At that moment, it was the 8th level. His speed had completely exceeded the acceptable range for both of them. While the two of them were sent flying, they did their best to block the attack. However, there were sounds of clang, clang, clang. Multiple clashing sounds could be heard in succession, and every clash caused both their hearts and minds to feel heavy. After clashing many times, the hands of the both of them felt numb. However, the two Hongjun golden swords were still not affected in the slightest bit. Instead, they had already changed into brilliant rays of golden light and appeared in front of both of them. Moreover, they headed for both of their heads right away. Their speed was too fast and they were unable to dodge them in time. However, just then, boom, boom, the space broke open and two big hammers were swung out of it at the same time. They then sent the two Hongjun golden swords flying and got rid of the danger that Emperor God Dan Tu and Emperor God Luoxian was in. Palace Master. Emperor God Dan Tu and Emperor God Luoxian were looking at Palace Master Wu Luo, who had appeared in front of them, with delight. "Both of you, please retreat to one side first," Palace Master Wu Luo said. After hearing what was said, Emperor God Luoxian did not hesitate at all, and his figure retreated far away at once. As for Emperor God Dan Tu, he had a ghastly pale expression and he was staring at Jian Wushuang with full of dissatisfaction. Before he had fought with Jian Wushuang, he had still doubted Jian Wushuang. He had thought that he might not be inferior to Jian Wushuang. However, when they had fought for real, especially when Jian Wushuang had gone all out, he realized that although he was an emperor god, he still did not have the right to participate in the battle. That's right. He had no right to participate. If he were to force himself to participate of his own accord, not only would he be unable to help Palace Master Wu Luo, he would become a burden to Palace Master Wu Luo. "Dan Tu, please retreat first," Emperor God Luoxian said. Emperor God Dan Tu gave a cold snort and he retreated while suppressing the dissatisfaction in his heart forcefully. Moreover, in no time, along with Emperor God Luoxian, he joined the intense battle by the side. As for this piece of void, only Jian Wushuang and Palace Master Wu Luo remained. "Palace Master Wu Luo, do you think that you will be able to handle me alone?" Jian Wushuang laughed. With a thought, the three Hongjun golden swords changed magically at the same time. Swish! 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 The three rays of golden light moved again and headed for Palace Master Wu Luo. Palace Master Wu Luo had a cold and stern expression. On his body, a great amount of dim light emerged and it was just like a demon cloud. Although he did not utter a single word, another giant hammer appeared in his other palm. This giant hammer had a powerful aura and it was actually a chaos divine treasure as well. The demon clouds rolled about and Palace Master Wu Luo transformed into a ferocious beast from the ancient past instantly. He then attacked right away with frightening murderous intent. At that moment, his aura rose to its maximum abruptly. A powerful pressure was exerted on Jian Wushuang and this pressure was slightly more powerful than before. He swung the two big hammers in his hands at the same time and the hammers were swung repeatedly, as if they were two lofty mountains that were extremely heavy. The most important thing was that not only were the two hammers extremely powerful, Their speed was so fast that it was shocking. With the two hammers attacking madly, they actually managed to barely block Jian Wushuang's three Hongjun golden swords, which were attacking continuously. Oh! Jian Wushuang looked at the scene in front of him with surprise. He had not expected Palace Master Wu Luo to actually be able to stop his three golden swords. As expected of Palace Master Wu Luo, who is ranked 25 in the Heaven and Earth ranking list. What you are unleashing now is probably your strongest fighting capabilities, and they are indeed impressive, Jian Wushuang said loudly. Jian Wushuang, I admit that you are indeed very powerful. However, you are still not good enough to defeat me, Palace Master Wu Luo snorted coldly. Is that so? Jian Wushuang did a strange laugh. After that, with a thought, another ray of golden light rose again. Upon seeing the ray of golden light, Palace Master Wu Luo's expression finally changed. A fourth one? Palace Master Wu Luo was completely stunned. As for Jian Wushuang, he sneered, you are barely able to block the attacks of three golden swords. But what if you were to encounter a fourth one? As soon as his words left his mouth, the fourth Hongjun golden sword which had risen shook slightly. After that, it pierced the void instantly. As for its speed, it was not slower than the three swords from before in the slightest. Moreover, it contained the same amount of power. Boom! 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 Four Hongjun golden swords swept past the void and generated ear-piercing sounds. The sounds were terrifying, and the Hongjun golden swords headed to Palace Master Wu Luo again and again. Each Hongjun golden sword possessed the power of a peak emperor god, which was more than enough to kill a Sir God easily. At that moment, four of them had teamed up. Even though it was Palace Master Wu Luo, at that moment, he was under a great amount of pressure that he had never felt before. He could only grit his teeth tightly and do his best to block the attacks. On the other side, Hall Master Ji Yuxin, Hall Master Shi Yun, the 4 silver-armored Dao soldiers, as well as the 30 bronze-armored Dao soldiers, were fighting an intense battle with a large number of experts from the Abysmal Palace. Emperor God Dan Tu and Emperor God Luo Xian had entered the battlefield. However, the two of them were stopped by 2 silver-armored Dao soldiers each right away. Although the fighting capabilities of a silver-armored Dao soldier were slightly inferior to that of an Emperor God, with 2 of them teaming up, they could still deal with an Emperor God with some difficulty. Moreover, the Dao soldiers' abilities to protect themselves were so strong that it was shocking. Hence, it was absolutely impossible for Emperor God Dan Tu and Emperor God Luo Xian to destroy them even if they wanted to do. Even with the fighting capabilities of Emperor Gods, they had still come to a deadlock temporarily, and they were unable to get away for a period of time. As for the 2 groups of Sir Gods, they were having an intense fight. In this battle, the performance of Hall Master Ji Yuxin and Hall Master Shi Yun was unusually dazzling. Boom! Boom! Unreasonable power burst forth at once. Be careful. Be careful of Hall Master Ji Yuxin. Chaos Divine Treasure. It's actually a Chaos Divine Treasure. Moreover, it is extremely powerful. Damn it! At that moment, the 15 Almighties from the Abysmal Palace had extremely ugly expressions. Previously, when Hall Master Ji Yuxin and Hall Master Shi Yun had fought with them as a warm-up, the divine weapons that they had used were merely chaos unique treasures. However, at that moment, the hands of Hall Master Ji Yuxin and Hall Master Shi Yun were holding on to chaos divine treasures which were so powerful that it was shocking. Chapter 1862. Suppress. How is it possible? Abysmal Palace has a stronger foundation than Lineage of Star, and we Sir Gods never once possess chaotic divine treasure. What did Lineage of Star do to deserve this? Their 2 Sir Gods have chaotic divine treasures? The experts from Abysmal Palace couldn't help but exclaim. One should know that chaotic divine treasure was extremely rare in Eternal Chaotic World. If an ordinary Emperor God didn't have any background or opportunity, he wouldn't get chaotic divine treasure, let alone a Sir God. In Eternal Chaotic World, Sir Gods who had chaotic divine treasures could be counted on one's fingers. Either these people were lucky or they had powerful background. However, the 2 Sir Gods from Lineage of Star had chaotic divine treasures. Since when did Lineage of Star become so wealthy? With the addition of chaotic divine treasures, Hall Master Ji Yuxin and Hall Master Nai Yin, who were originally powerful, especially Hall Master Ji Yuxin, who was a peak Sir God. When they attacked with 30 bronze-armored Dao soldiers, they could suppress the 15 Sir Gods from Abysmal Palace. Ha ha, this feels great. Continue, let's continue. Hall Master Nai Yun was extremely excited. He carried a grey rod, and the grey rod gave out an ancient yet vast aura. Because of the grey rod, his overall power increased by 1 notch. Even if he were to fight with an Emperor God Sir God, he wouldn't be fearful. From the bottom of their hearts, Hall Master Nai Yun was grateful for Jian Wushuang. After all, the grey rod in his hand and the chaotic divine treasure that Hall Master Jiyu Xin was using were both from Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang had obtained many chaotic divine treasures from the ancient battlefield. He told Hall Master Yuan to rope in some experts with the chaotic divine treasures. Hall Master Jiyu Xin and Hall Master Nai Yun were his people. Jian Wushuang, of course, wouldn't be stingy, but gave them the most suitable chaotic divine treasures. In the fight, the two of them gave play to their full fighting power. In the 3 battlefields, Lineage of Star had the upper hand in 2. The other one was in a stalemate. Overall, Lineage of Star already had the absolute upper hand. Just then, pissed. A head flew off directly when the eyes in the head were wide in disbelief. The scene struck fear into many experts from Abysmal Palace. Sir Godyu Shin. Be starred. Be careful. The experts from Abysmal Palace were terrified and furious. Jiyu Xin, well done. Hall Master Nai Yun was filled with excitement. The fight had been going on for quite a while, and finally, there was an expert who died. The person was from Abysmal Palace. At first, Abysmal Palace had had the lower hand. Then, there was a Sir God from their side who had been killed. Hence, they were in an even worse situation. But as the first expert died, the second and the third were definitely not far away. The massacre continued. After Sir Godyu Xin was killed by Hall Master Jiyu Xin, the second Sir God was killed very soon. He was killed by Hall Master Nai Yun and 2 bronze-armored Dao soldiers. Then, there was the third one. The remaining experts from Abysmal Palace couldn't stay calm anymore. Everyone looked at Palace Master Wu Luo, expecting to see Palace Master Wu Luo to turn the table around. However, when they saw Palace Master Wu Luo's situation, the experts from Abysmal Palace were dumbfounded. Palace Master Wu Luo had already lost his aloof carriage and appearance of a sect master. On the contrary, his body was unusually in a fix and his face was pale. Although he wielded the 2 hammers with his awl, he was suppressed by the besiegement of 4 Hongjun golden sword. How could it be? The experts from Abysmal Palace found it unbelievable. One should know that Palace Master Wu Luo's position in Abysmal Palace was only second to Abysmal Saint Master. He was an absolute super expert on the 25th place on Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list. However, such a super expert was completely suppressed when he fought head-on with Jian Wushuang. Dear Menet. Palace Master Wu Luo already noticed the surrounding battlefields. He saw that 3 Sir Gods from Abysmal Palace had died one after another. His face grew grave and he felt aggrieved. He felt really aggrieved. He was a peak Emperor God, but he was suppressed by Jian Wushuang. If it were to spread, it would become a joke. Dan 2, Luo Xian, the 2 of you hurry up and rush over to the other battlefield, Palace Master roared. Emperor God Dan 2 and Emperor God Luo Xian were looked cold. They wanted to shake off the silver-armored Dao soldiers long ago. However, even though the 2 silver-armored Dao soldiers weren't powerful, they kept pestering them and didn't give them any chance to be free from them. Most importantly, the 2 silver-armored Dao soldiers were 2 obstacles that wouldn't break nor shatter. They couldn't do anything about the Dao soldiers. The 2 of them felt helpless when they heard Palace Master Wu Luo. Palace Master Wu Luo. Jian Wushuang smirked coldly and looked at Palace Master Wu Luo. At this moment, you still have the gall to bother with the others. You'd better plan for yourself. Jian Wushuang said, and there was suddenly a billowing divine power that swept out. Not only divine power but also ferocious bloodline power. They concentrated to a brand new level. Jian Wushuang stared at Palace Master Wu Luo as his gaze turned cold. Moon-picking skill. Vroom. Divine power and bloodline power exploded entirely. At the same time, the boundless space-time power swept out too. The strongest secret skill of Ancient God, moon-picking skill, relied on space-time power as well. the higher his comprehension of space-time doctrine, the fiercer the secret skill when he performed it. Then, Jian Wushuang was performing the secret skill with his all. The void suddenly shook vigorously. Palace Master Wu Luo was originally in a fix because of the pressure from Hong Jun Golden Sword. Then, he suddenly felt the surrounding universe and the space-time pressing down at him in madness. The pressure shook heaven and earth. In an instant, his movements were severely hindered. Ancient God's moon-picking skill? Palace Master's eyes dilated and he recognized the skill. He immediately harumphed coldly and a huge space-time whirlpool swept out. The space-time whirlpool swallowed everything in the surrounding and wanted to swallow the entire space-time and the entire universe. With such devouring power, it reduced the effect of the surrounding universe and space-time towards him, but his speed was still diminishing drastically. Swoosh! 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 The 4 golden lights burst out one after another. Palace Master Wu Luo blocked with his all. However, he only managed to block 3 of them under the pressure of the universe and space-time. The remaining 1 hit his body without any hindrance. Chapter 1863. Completely defeated Bam. A heavy clashing sound could be heard and Palace Master Wu Luo was sent flying immediately. It was only after flying for tens of thousands of miles that his body stopped moving. At that moment, his expression became even more ghastly pale and some blood flowed out from the corners of his mouth. It was obvious that the attack moments ago had caused him to be injured. Not bad. Not only do you have a defense armor that is of the level of a Chaos Divine Treasure, your secret skill to defend yourself is extremely powerful. Even with an attack from my Hong Jun Golden Sword at its full power, you merely got away with light injuries. Jian Wushuang stared at Palace Master Wu Luo. After that, he gave a strange laugh. However, if you were to take the attack a few more times, even though you had a Chaos Divine Treasure level defense armor, you might still be unable to withstand all of them, right? As soon as his words left his mouth, unreasonable divine power and bloodline power were unleashed from Jian Wushuang's body again. Palace Master Wu Luo's expression changed greatly. As Jian Wushuang had said, if it were just 1 attack, he could still withstand it and he would not suffer heavy injuries. However, if such an attack were to come a few more times, then it would be a completely different story. Buzz the void shook again. After that, the whole universe and space-time headed toward Palace Master Wu Luo again. 4 Hong Jun Golden Swords were shot out again as well. A similar scene appeared again. This time around, under the attack of the Hong Jun Golden Swords, Palace Master Wu Luo could not help but give a groan. However, the moment he regained his posture, Jian Wushuang took action again and it was still the same move. How is this possible? Palace Master Wu Luo was completely dumbfounded. He had a good understanding of the ancient God clan's moon-picking skill. This move was the strongest secret skill of the ancient God clan. However, it was not easy to use it as it would deplete one's divine power and bloodline power greatly. For a normal ancient god, unleashing the moon-picking skill once or twice in one intense battle would cause him to reach his limit and it was impossible for him to unleash it a 3rd time. However, what about Jian Wushuang? He had unleashed the moon-picking skill twice in succession. Despite that, he did not feel any pressure and he was still very relaxed. At that moment, he had unleashed it a 3rd time? His divine power and bloodline power was this vast? He did not know that Jian Wushuang was a Stage 3 ultimate real god who possessed a total of 100 ultimate divine power water droplets. In addition, there was the king of venomous worms in his body who was helping him to recover with his full power. As such, he could be said to have an endless amount of divine power. As for bloodline power, he possessed the bloodline of ancient clan. As such, his level of bloodline was higher than that of the ancient god clan. Thus, it would be a lot easier for him to use the secret skills of the ancient god clan by using the bloodline of ancient clan compared to an ancient god. Hence, not to mention unleashing it 2 or 3 times, even if he were to unleash it tens of times in succession, he would still be able to bear it. Although he could bear it, Palace Master Wu Luo was unable to bear it. Monster, this Jian Wushuang is absolutely a genuine monster. No wonder even Saint Master is fearful of him and he wanted to get rid of him in advance. I am actually fighting with a monster. Palace Master Wu Luo opened his eyes wide and at the next moment, he made up his mind. Retreat. Everyone, Retreat quickly. Palace Master Wu Luo's cry reverberated across the whole battlefield, and he retreated to the back immediately. Upon seeing that, the eyes of the large number of experts from the Abysmal Palace shrank, and they were filled with dissatisfaction. It should be known that they were the Abysmal Palace. Among the large number of big powerhouses in the whole Sanctuary Alliance, they could be said to be the top 3. This time around, they had activated more than 80% of their fighting capabilities, with Palace Master Wu Luo leading them personally to fight their way into the lineage of Star. In the end, they were actually defeated by the other party in front of the experts of each and every powerhouse in the Sanctuary Alliance. What a disgrace! This was absolutely a huge disgrace. The moment they retreated, they would definitely be reduced to an object of ridicule in the Sanctuary Alliance. However, even though they knew that this would be the case, they could only retreat. There was no longer any suspense in this battle. Even Palace Master Wu Luo had been defeated by Jian Wushuang head-on. Hence, what else could they do to turn the situation around? The large number of experts from the Abysmal Palace started to retreat at once. However, it was a pity that in such a situation, even if they wanted to retreat, they would still need to go through the lineage of Star first. Ha ha, kill all of them. Hall Master Shiyun was extremely excited, and he gave chase right away without hesitation. Although Hall Master Jiyu Xin had never said anything, her eyes were glowing with coldness. Her speed was not slow in the slightest, and she continued to give chase. Similarly, the Dao soldiers gave chase as well. As for Jian Wushuang, who was at the very front, he was holding his sword in one hand, and he was filled with murderous intent. As for the 4 brilliant rays of golden light in front of them, they had already attacked furiously with lightning speed. This very day was the day where the lineage of Star had showed everyone how powerful it was. He wanted to use this battle to completely frighten all the powerhouses in the Sanctuary Alliance. At that moment, even though the Abysmal Palace had already started to retreat, an insufficient number of their experts had died and an insufficient amount of blood was shed. As such, this was far from achieving Jian Wushuang's requirements. Not enough. Not enough people have been killed. Jian Wushuang was glowing with a shrill light that was terrifying, and he was like a wild beast that was extremely furious. He was looking in front at the experts of the Abysmal Palace who were escaping madly. Among the 3 Emperor Gods, it is definitely impossible to kill Palace Master Wu Luo. As for the remaining Emperor God Dan Tu and Emperor God Luo Xian, I can kill both of them. As for my first target, it's him. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold, and he locked on to one person tenaciously. That person was an arrogant youth, and he was Emperor God Dan Tu. At that moment, the experts of the Abysmal Palace had already arrived at the edge of the great formation that the One Realm Pearl had formed. Palace Master Wu Luo was at the front. After taking a look at the purple light membrane in front of him, his eyes glowed with a fierce light, and he attacked with the 2 hammers in his hands right away. Boom! Boom! A heavy but ancient sound could be heard, and the great formation started to shake crazily. Jian Wushuang's expression changed slightly. He could feel the great pressure that the One Realm Pearl was under. Palace Master Wu Luo's attack power was indeed frightening. If nothing were to go wrong, he would only need to attack the great formation with his full power 3 times in order to destroy it. At that moment, he had already attacked it once, and he still needed to attack it 2 more times. Before he destroys the great formation, we have to do our best to get the experts of the Abysmal Palace to remain here. Among those 2 Emperor Gods, at the very least, we must get one of them to remain. Kill! Jian Wushuang shouted, and he unleashed his moon-picking skill again. The void shook, and the universe and space-time exerted a frightening amount of pressure on everyone from the Abysmal Palace instantly. Although its power was slightly dispersed, it was still all right as Jian Wushuang was so powerful. As such, most of the Sir Gods were suppressed and they were unable to move at all. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Hall Master Jiyu Xin, and the large number of Dao soldiers threw themselves over madly. Similarly, Jian Wushuang attacked, and his eyes were completely locked on to Emperor God Dan Tu. Not good. Emperor God Dan Tu's expression turned ghastly pale at once. Rumble frightening massacre burst forth again. Palace Master Wu Luo was unable to participate in the massacre immediately. After all, he needed to use his full power to destroy the great formation of the One Realm Pearl. Boom! Boom! With 2 violent booming sounds again, the great formation of the One Realm Pearl was finally destroyed. Chapter 1864. Suffer a crushing hefty defeat. The formation broke. Hurry up and leave. Palace Master Wu Luo broke the formation and immediately shouted. However, when he turned around and saw everything that had happened behind his back, his face changed. No! There was a shrill scream that reverberated in his ears. Before Palace Master's gaze, Emperor God Dantu's face was red and the saber that was tightly gripped in his hand dropped. Then, there were two resplendent golden lights that shot at him. Emperor God Dantu looked hopeless. He didn't have any chaotic divine treasure level defense armor like Palace Master Wu Luo. It was impossible for him to withstand Jian Wushuang's golden sword attack. Pissed. Pissed. The two golden lights pierced Emperor Dantu's head almost instantly and his head was completely smashed. The super genius from Abysmal Palace died on the spot. Dear Menit. Palace Master Wu Luo was furious. He had never expected that in the short time that he was resolving the formation by One Pearl Realm wholeheartedly, Jian Wushuang would kill Emperor God Dantu with thunderous measures. Plus, not only Emperor God Dantu, but the other Sir God experts from Abysmal Palace were massacred mercilessly as well. They were in a wretched situation. When the formation by One Pearl Realm broke, the experts from Abysmal Palace were thrilled. They started fleeing without hesitation. Although Palace Master Wu Luo was furious, he didn't stay but ran away at the first instant. Without the hindrance of the formation by One Pearl Realm, Jian Wushuang couldn't make the experts from Abysmal Palace stay when they started running away. Very soon, the experts from Abysmal Palace had disappeared completely. In the void, Jian Wushuang, Hall Master Jiyu Xin, Hall Master Nai Yun, the three of them stood at the far front while the Dao soldiers followed behind them. Watching the experts from Abysmal Palace running away, the three of their faces were cold. It's a pity that my One Realm Pearl, although it could become a formation with my will, the power of the formation is limited. Palace Master Wu Luo was powerful and he could break the formation with 3 full force hits. If the formation could hold them back longer, the Almighties from Abysmal Palace might have been killed. Jian Wushuang was filled with murderous intention and there was a tinge of regret in his eyes. It's a pity. Hall Master Jiyu Xin and Hall Master Nai Yun nodded simultaneously. The three of them exchanged a look and then smiled. Ha ha! Jian Wushuang laughed extremely wantonly. Hall Master Jiyu Xin and Hall Master Nai Yun then laughed too. Although there were many experts from Abysmal Palace that had managed to escape, which they found regrettable, the result was that Abysmal Palace had suffered a crushing hefty defeat after all. Hefty defeat. It was absolutely no doubt a great defeat. During the fight, Lineage of Star had merely had a few of their bronze-armored Dao soldiers damaged. They only needed some resources to recover them. Other than that, they hadn't lost anything. Abysmal Palace had suffered a great loss. Abysmal Palace kept a high profile and came to Lineage of Star before the forces and experts in Sanctuary Alliance. In the end, they suffered a crushing defeat and lost many Almighties. If the news were to be spread, it would stir a great commotion, Hall Master Jiyu Xin said excitedly. It's okay to stir commotion. Most importantly, the fight serves as a deterrent to the others. There was a gleam in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Abysmal Palace sent 80% of their highest fighting power and suffered a crushing defeat. How many Abysmal Palaces does Sanctuary Alliance have? After this fight, the forces and sects would be even more fearful of Lineage of Star. Even if they found out that the Master of Star Palace passed away, they have to reconsider again and again before they do anything to Lineage of Star. Yes, Hall Master Jiyu Xin and Hall Master Nai Yun nodded heavily. They walked out of Galaxy Universe and took on their enemy in order to intimidate all forces with the fight. They were very satisfied with the result. Come on, let's return. Jian Wushuang waved to put the Dao soldiers away. Then, Jian Wushuang and the two Hall Masters brought the exciting result back to Lineage of Star. In the void, far away from the battlefield earlier. Swoosh! 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 A few figures stopped in the void. The experts from Abysmal Palace who strutted about and gave themselves airs when they barged into Lineage of Star. They were daring and energetic. But then, everyone, including Palace Master Wu Luo, was in a fix. They were like stray dogs. Especially many Sir Gods looked terrified and frightened. These Sir Gods were normally high and mighty. Although they had once faced life and death danger when they wandered outside, it hardly happened. That day, they had really taken a trip to Gate of Hell. They almost couldn't return. There are so few of us left. Palace Master Wu Luo's face grew in distress. He looked at the people around him and he couldn't help but shiver. The experts from Abysmal Palace looked around and lowered their heads simultaneously. The reason why they lowered their heads was that they were embarrassed. One should know that they had sent out a troop of 18 Almighties in the beginning. Among the 18 Almighties, there were 3 Emperor Gods and 15 Sir Gods. It was a terrifying team formation. But then, with one glance, the people who were still standing in the void were only 9 in total. Yes, only 9 left. There were 2 Emperor Gods, Palace Master Wu Luo and Emperor God Luo Xian. The remaining 7 were Sir Gods. Among the 9 of them who were alive, every one of them was pale and they were injured. As for the other 9 people, they had been killed in the fight earlier. 9 Almighties, including Emperor God Dan Tu, passed away during the fight. On the other hand, there wasn't any death in the other party. Was it really Abysmal Palace that had such a result? Abysmal Palace, whose overall foundation and power were in the top 3 in Sanctuary Alliance, had been beaten up by Lineage of Star? Saint Master wanted me to kill Jian Wushuang and destroy Lineage of Star along the way. I have to figure out ways to get my hands on the secret skill of Star Palace as well. But now, Abysmal Palace was defeated heavily in the fight. How do I report to Saint Master? Palace Master Wu Luo looked distressed. Not only we couldn't report in, but Abysmal Palace's overall power also diminished. We would even become Sanctuary Alliance's laughingstock for quite a while. Jian Wushuang, Jian Wushuang. This time, Abysmal Palace is doomed. We will definitely remember this. In no time, I will definitely repay in 10 times, 100 times or even 1,000 times. Just you wait. Palace Master Wu Luo roared and led the experts from Abysmal Palace to leave very quickly. Chapter 1865. Great Present Universe Galaxy. Inside the base of the Lineage of Star. During this period of time, news of the Star Palace Master dying had already spread to the outside world. As for the experts and disciples in the Lineage of Star, they had also heard about the news and they felt restless. However, with Hall Master Yuan reassuring them, there was no trouble. The Lineage of Star was just like before. As for Hall Master Yuan, he was waiting quietly for the results of the battle to spread. During that battle, scouts from all the powerhouses in the Sanctuary Alliance were present. Naturally, the scouts from the Lineage of Star were present as well and there was a large number of them. The course of events in the battle was relayed to Hall Master Yuan immediately. When he knew that Jian Wushuang and his group of people had had a huge victory and that they were on their way back, he heaved a sigh of relief. In no time, Jian Wushuang and the 2 Hall Masters returned to the Star Palace. Ha ha, let's welcome the triumphant return of our 3 heroes. Hall Master welcomed them, laughing loudly. Jian Wushuang and the 2 Hall Masters laughed heartily. After this battle, our Lineage of Star has revealed a great force of deterrent. Next, Hall Master Yuan, please go ahead and settle that matter, Jian Wushuang said. Hall Master Yuan's expression changed. He knew which matter Jian Wushuang was referring to. Previously, before the news of the Star Palace Master dying had spread, the Lineage of Star had been doing recruitment secretly by offering many experts who traveled alone attractive deals. Among these experts who traveled alone, some of them were attracted. However, the Lineage of Star did not get them to give their answer right away. After the news of the Star Palace Master being dead was spread, these experts who traveled alone hesitated again. After all, it was risky for them to join the Lineage of Star at this point of time. Jian Wushuang had known about this a long time ago. Hence, he had never pressed them for replies but instead gave them enough time to consider. It was not until the recent battle where the Lineage of Star had defeated the Abysmal Palace head-on and was powerful enough to frighten everyone that he had made it known to those experts that the Lineage of Star possessed absolute abilities and confidence to deal with any kind of danger. At this stage, they could show themselves for real and officially invite those experts who traveled alone. Hall Master Yuan, how many experts do you think you can recruit successfully? Hall Master Jiu Xin looked at Hall Master Yuan. Before the battle with the Abysmal Palace, I had no confidence at all, and being able to recruit about 2 to 3 almighties was already considered not too bad. However, now, I reckon that I can recruit at least 10 experts who traveled alone and were also at the level of almighty. Moreover, the numbers might even be more, Hall Master Yuan laughed. That's great. The eyes of Hall Master Jiu Xin and Hall Master Shiyun brightened up. I shall leave this matter to you, Hall Master Yuan, Jian Wushuang said. No problem. Hall Master Yuan was extremely confident. While Jian Wushuang was still having a discussion with regards to some matters with the 3 Hall Masters. Jian Wushuang's expression changed abruptly. What's wrong? The 3 Hall Masters looked at Jian Wushuang at the same. Do you remember that after I destroyed the Deluge Fortress, I told all of you that I used the price of 1 Chaos Divine Treasure level armor to recruit that Emperor God Ju Yin to the lineage of Star? Emperor God Ju Yin agreed to it on the spot. However, he needed some time. And now, Emperor God Ju Yin has already arrived outside the universe galaxy, Jian Wushuang said while stroking his nose. Emperor God Ju Yin? Emperor God Ju Yin has come? Hall Master Yuan and the 2 other Hall Masters were over the moon. After all, Emperor God Ju Yin was a genuine Emperor God expert. Although he was not a peak Emperor God, he was definitely a great fighting force to the lineage of Star. Let's go. Follow me and let's welcome Emperor God Ju Yin together, Jian Wushuang laughed. Hall Master Yuan and the 2 other Hall Masters naturally followed behind Jian Wushuang. In no time, the 4 of them arrived at the edge of the universe galaxy. Emperor God Ju Yin, as Jian Wushuang looked at the unusually evil black-robed young man at the void in front, he revealed a smile. Ha ha, Sword Emperor. Emperor God Ju Yin walked over right away, and after he came before Jian Wushuang, he greeted him kindly. As for the 3 Hall Masters behind Jian Wushuang, he nodded his head to signal to them. After that, he spoke. I have said before that within thousands of years, I would definitely come to the lineage of Star. Now that I have come, I wonder if the lineage of Star and you, Sword Emperor, are still willing to accept me. Of course we accept you. Jian Wushuang laughed apathetically. Emperor God Ju Yin, for you to be willing to become a guest elder of the lineage of Star, the lineage of Star is greatly honored by your presence, Hall Master Yuan said. Emperor God Ju Yin grinned and said abruptly, oh right. When I was on my way here, I heard that the Abysmal Palace had fought their way here. What is the situation now? The Abysmal Palace has already retreated, Jian Wushuang said. Retreated? Emperor God Ju Yin was surprised. What happened? The Abysmal Palace is a super big powerhouse that is ranked in the top 3 in the Sanctuary Alliance. Moreover, they have been extremely aggressive and it is impossible for them to have a good start but a poor finish. Since they came for the lineage of Star this time around, they would definitely attack you. Strange, and I still hurried here at my fastest speed, hoping that I would be of some help to all of you. Upon hearing Emperor God Ju Yin's words, Jian Wushuang's heart twitched. He could tell that Emperor God Ju Yin had just happened to head to the lineage of Star. However, after hearing the news about the Abysmal Palace taking action against the lineage of Star, he had made the best use of his speed to hurry over to help them immediately. However, it was a pity that he was too late. Emperor God Ju Yin, you are right. The Abysmal Palace never let their enemies off. Since they said that they would take action, they would definitely take action. However, it's a pity that you are too late. Not long ago, my lineage of Star already fought an intense battle with the Abysmal Palace. Moreover, we defeated them, Jian Wushuang said. Defeated them? Emperor God Ju Yin was dumbfounded. The lineage of Star defeated the Abysmal Palace head-on? Is this a joke? Could it be that the Star Palace Master took action personally? The Palace Master did not take action. However, the Abysmal Palace has indeed been defeated by us. Moreover, they retreated with a great defeat. This piece of news will probably be made known to you soon, Jian Wushuang said. After hearing what was said, Emperor God Ju Yin was shocked. He then raised his head and looked at Jian Wushuang with astonishment. After that, he calmed down slowly. Forget it. It's all good since they have been defeated. Emperor God Ju Yin laughed and looked at Jian Wushuang again. Sword Emperor, back then, when you used a Chaos Divine Treasure level defense armor to recruit me into the lineage of Star, I said that I would look for you after a few years and I would also bring you a great present. Now, it's time for me to fulfill my promise and I have brought you the great present. A great present? Jian Wushuang was surprised. Back then, Emperor God Ju Yin had indeed said that. However, Jian Wushuang was not concerned with it at all. He had not expected Emperor God Ju Yin to actually bring him a great present. I wonder what this great present is? Jian Wushuang questioned while laughing. With his abilities and identity then, normal treasures and opportunities would be unable to attract his attention. Hence, what kind of item would be considered a great present to him? Chapter 1866. Sword Emperor Dugu. With Jian Wushuang's eager expectation, Emperor God Ju Yin flipped his hand and took out a token in sword shape. The token gave out an extremely unique aura. He could tell that it was some kind of token with one glance. This is... Jian Wushuang looked confused. He didn't know anything about sword-shaped tokens. Not only Jian Wushuang, but Hall Master Jiu Xin and Hall Master Nai Yun reacted similarly. Only Hall Master Yuan was surprised when he saw the token. After he took another careful look, he exclaimed, "This is Emperor Sword Palace's Sword Principal Inheritance Token." Emperor Sword Palace? Sword Principal Inheritance Token? Jian Wushuang was surprised. "Your Excellency, you must be Hall Master Yuan from lineage of Star." Emperor God Jin Yin smiled at Hall Master Yuan. "Your Excellency has good eyesight. You recognize the token with one glance." "You're right. This token is Emperor Sword Palace's Sword Principal Inheritance Token. As for its value, as Hall Master Yuan can recognize it, you should know." Hall Master Yuan nodded heavily. He, of course, knew the price of the token. "A huge present, it is really a huge present," Hall Master Yuan complimented. "Hall Master Yuan, what's going on? What's the origin of the Sword Principal Inheritance Token?" Jian Wushuang asked. Hall Master Wushuang. As Emperor God Ju Yin had yet to verify the death of the Master of Star Palace, Hall Master Yuan still referred to Jian Wushuang as Hall Master Wushuang instead of Palace Master in front of Emperor God Ju Yin. "You should have heard of Emperor Sword Sect, right?" Hall Master Yuan asked. "Of course, I know," Jian Wushuang nodded. "Emperor Sword Palace is one of the major forces in Sanctuary Alliance. They are extremely ancient and their foundation is strong. Although the power isn't as fierce as Abysmal Palace and Soaring Heaven King Palace, their positions in Sanctuary Alliance is extraordinary." Hall Master Wushuang, you only know that Emperor Sword Sect is very old, but you don't know about its origins. Emperor Sword Sect is actually related to a super expert from the First Era, Hall Master Yuan said. First Era? Jian Wushuang stunned. After ancient times, it had been the First Era. After the First Era collapsed, the Second Era derived from it, which had made eternal chaotic world. Hall Master Yuan started explaining, among the three eras, ancient times were the strongest, followed by the First Era. Ancient time is too long ago and the experts of eternal chaotic world could only find traces of ancient times from the ancient battlefield. However, the First Era is considered rather close to us. Although the First Era couldn't be compared to ancient times long ago, there were many top experts and geniuses, especially some super experts, who stood at the peak. Their potential and talent are actually much higher than experts in ancient times. But due to the restriction of the environment during the First Era, they couldn't match evenly with experts in ancient times. In this era, there were once many super experts. For example, the higher leader of ancient tribe, Ancient God Emperor, who was a 10-star ancient god, his power was above Great Emperor. Also Emperor White, he was from the First Era as well. Back then, he was famous and highly positioned. These two were considered true big figures back in the First Era and they were considered super experts on the peak. However, their powers were merely in the top 10 in the First Era, not the top 3. Jian Wushuang was convinced when he heard that. Ancient God Emperor and Emperor Bai were powerful. Especially as Ancient God Emperor was the leader of Ancient God, a 10-star ancient god. Actually, his power had already exceeded the range of Chaotic Realm, but they couldn't be listed in the top 3 in the First Era. How scary would the top 3 be? The top 3 in the First Era, they were super experts who could truly break the sky and split heaven. Even if they were to be in ancient times, they were extremely talented figures. Ever since the First Era collapsed, the top 3 and many experts in the First Era died. Only Emperor Bai remained alive. Among the 3 super experts, The one on the third place was Sword Emperor Dugu. Hall Master Yuan said. Sword Emperor Dugu? Jian Wushuang stunned. He didn't know much about the First Era. It was also his first time hearing Sword Emperor Dugu's name. However, judging from the name itself, Sword Emperor Dugu was definitely an expert who was good with a sword. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the nickname of Sword Emperor. Sword Emperor Dugu had impressive swordsmanship. He was widely acknowledged as the first man in sword principle. It is said that although most of his sword principles were self-invented, his strongest and scariest sword principle was from ancient times. When the First Era collapsed, Sword Emperor Dugu died. However, many years ago, when it came to the Second Era, eternal chaotic world started and there was a Sir God who happened to obtain Emperor Sword Palace that Sword Emperor Dugu left behind. Emperor Sword Palace contains sword principle and sword intention, and the Sir God happened to be good at sword too. He was the first who entered Emperor Sword Palace and he received the greatest opportunity and advantage. After that, his power increased tremendously and he even broke through and reached Emperor God level. He used Emperor Sword Palace as his base and started Emperor Sword Sect. Then, Emperor Sword Sect started passing down until now, Hall Master Yuan explained. I see. Jian Wushuang understood. He had heard of Emperor Sword Sect long ago, but he had never expected Emperor Sword Sect to be related to Sword Emperor Dugu, who was powerful in the First Era. Then, what's this Sword Principal Inheritance Token? Jian Wushuang asked. Sword Principal Inheritance Token is the token to enter Emperor Sword Palace. Although the greatest opportunities and advantages in Emperor Sword Palace were taken by the founder of Emperor Sword Sect, some of the opportunities couldn't be taken away but could only be kept within Emperor Sword Palace. Emperor Sword Palace opens once every 1 million years and every time it opens, only those who hold Sword Principal Inheritance Tokens are qualified to enter. Just like Emperor Sword Sect, although they control Emperor Sword Palace, their men can't enter if they do not have Sword Principal Inheritance Tokens. Hall Master Yuan paused and continued. There's a total of 5 Sword Principal Inheritance Tokens. Under normal circumstances, Emperor Sword Sect would keep 2 for themselves and distribute the other 3. In the end, the luckier sword experts would get them. They enter Emperor Sword Palace with the Sword Principal Inheritance Token and they could receive inheritance of Sword Principal, which was extremely helpful to their swordsmanship. Plus, legend says that if one received sufficient opportunities and possessed talent, he would stand a chance to receive the terrifyingly powerful ancient sword principle that Sword Emperor Dugu controlled. Chapter 1867. Frightening everyone I see. Jian Wushuang understood. I am proficient in sword principles. In other words, this Emperor Sword Palace will be of great use to me. That's right. Even to great Emperor-level experts who are proficient in sword principles, the Emperor Sword Palace that Sword Emperor Dugu has left behind would be extremely useful. Hence, it would naturally be even more useful to you, Hall Master Wushuang. Hall Master Yuan laughed. However, this Sword Principal Inheritance Token is extremely rare. Emperor God Ju Yin. How did you obtain it? I was able to obtain it as I was lucky, Emperor God Ju Yin grinned. Before Sword Emperor invited me to the Deluge Fortress, I got to know that a Sir God possessed a Sword Principal Inheritance Token by coincidence. Back then, I was not too concerned with it. However, after I was recruited by you, Sword Emperor, I thought about it. Hence, over the past few years, I found that Sir God and used some methods to obtain this Sword Principal Inheritance Token easily. Is that so? Your luck is not too bad, Hall Master Yuan gasped. Emperor God Ju Yin. Jian Wushuang looked in the direction of Emperor God Ju Yin. Thank you very much. I shall accept this Sword Principal Inheritance Token. Ha ha, there is no need for you to be so modest. Although this Sword Principal Inheritance Token is valuable, it is still comparable to a Chaos Divine Treasure level defense armor. Emperor God Ju Yin laughed heartily. Oh right. From what I know, the Emperor Sword Palace will open up again in another 300 years' time. If you wish to go there, you had better hurry. In another 300 years' time? Jian Wushuang frowned. With 300 years of time, he would be able to make it in time. However, the most important thing was that the lineage of Star was in great danger. At such a stage, wouldn't he not be able to make time to go there? Hall Master Wushuang, you may set your mind at ease and go. Hall Master Yuan could tell that Jian Wushuang was worried, and he laughed immediately. After teaching the Abysmal Palace a lesson, for a short period of time, the experts from the powerhouses in the Sanctuary Alliance will probably not have the guts to attack the lineage of Star again. Even if they were to really attack us, it would probably only be after another thousands of years. According to what I know, every time the Emperor Sword Palace opens, one can only stay inside for 1,000 years' time, and you will definitely be able to make it back in time. The only troublesome thing is the Emperor Sword sect, as they might not let you enter the Emperor Sword Palace. Why? Jian Wushuang was puzzled. He was confident that he had asked Hall Master Yuan before in the past. Hence, he already knew the big powerhouses that had a grudge against the lineage of Star. For example, the Divine King Island, the Real Martial Arts Divine Church, and the Highest Heaven Emperor Mansion all had a huge grudge against the lineage of Star. However, among those big powerhouses, the Emperor Sword sect was not included. Since there were no grudges between them and Jian Wushuang really possessed the Sword Principal Inheritance Token, why would the Emperor Sword sect not let him enter the Emperor Sword Palace? There are indeed no huge grudges between the lineage of Star and the Emperor Sword sect. This is not fake, and at the very least, no experts from either side have died at the hands of the other. Even if there were, both sides do not know about it. However, although there are no huge grudges, there are small conflicts. For example, when Palace Master was traveling in the second layer in the past, he fought with the current sect master of the Emperor Sword sect for his own benefit. Moreover, he also caused the Emperor Sword sect master to suffer huge losses, and he lost all his face in front of everyone. Although this was only a small episode and it was not at the stage where both of them would take action to kill each other, the Emperor Sword sect master still remembered it. Now, since you wish to enter the Emperor Sword Palace, you definitely have to obtain the approval of the Emperor Sword sect first. Perhaps the Emperor Sword sect would not take action to attack you, but they would probably make things slightly more difficult for you, Hall Master Yuan said. I see. Jian Wushuang understood. Let's not care about this Emperor Sword sect. After all, I still have 300 years of time. During this period of time, I will stay in the lineage of Star and take a look at the reactions of all the powerhouses in the Sanctuary Alliance. If there are really no movements from them, I will go to the Emperor Sword sect 300 years later. All right, Hall Master Yuan nodded his head in approval. Emperor God Ju Yin, this is the first day where you have become the guest elder of the lineage of Star. I will get people to prepare a banquet immediately, and during the banquet, I will announce this to everyone, Jian Wushuang said. Please go ahead. Emperor God Ju Yin did not stand on ceremony. Under Jian Wushuang's personal guidance, he took a step into the universe galaxy. With Palace Master Wu Luo leading them personally, the large number of experts from the Abysmal Palace fought their way into the Starland, attracting a lot of attention. However, in the end, before they could reach the doorstep of the lineage of Star, they were defeated by the experts of the lineage of Star who Jian Wushuang led and were forced to escape. Among the 18 Almighties, a total of 9 of them were killed on the spot. Even Emperor God Dan Tu, an Emperor God-level genius, died in that battle. The moment this piece of news spread, the Sanctuary Alliance burst into an uproar. It should be known that previously, when they had gotten to know that the Abysmal Palace was going to attack the lineage of Star, the experts of all the powerhouses in the Sanctuary Alliance had thought that it would be the end of the line for the lineage of Star. However, who could have expected the end results to be as such? Moreover, during that battle, the large number of trump cards that the lineage of Star had unleashed had caused the experts of quite a number of powerhouses to be extremely terrified. Those 30 bronze-armored Dao soldiers. Although Hall Master Jiyu Xin and Hall Master Shiyun were merely Sir Gods, they actually possessed Chaos Divine treasures. In the end, the most shocking thing had been the frightening fighting capabilities that Jian Wushuang had revealed. 8th level. This Jian Wushuang's comprehension of the space-time doctrine has actually achieved the standard needed to clear the 8th level of the Doctrine Palace. Even though his level of comprehension of the space-time doctrine is so high, he still hid it all the while. This Jian Wushuang has really hidden his abilities so deeply. Since his level of comprehension of the space-time doctrine is so high, the golden swords that he controls will become extremely frightening. Just 3 of them alone were able to give Palace Master Wu Luo a great amount of pressure. With 4 of them, even Palace Master Wu Luo was completely suppressed. When further combined with the ancient god's secret skills that Jian Wushuang unleashed, he actually defeated Palace Master Wu Luo head-on. Previously, I thought that it was a bit too much to put Jian Wushuang in the top 30 of the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list. However, looking at it now, after this battle, his ranking will definitely rise again. At the very least, he will have a higher ranking than Palace Master Wu Luo. However, I wonder what his ranking will be. Countless experts were chatting enthusiastically. As for those powerhouses who were restless and wanted to attack the lineage of Star, they became quiet again. There was no choice. The results of this battle were something that they had never expected. Originally, they had thought that with the Abysmal Palace taking action personally, it would be enough to force the lineage of Star to its limit and the lineage of Star's situation then would be revealed. However, in the end, after the battle, the lineage of Star had become even more unfathomable. Because, to date, they still did not know how those Dao soldiers and Chaos Divine treasures were obtained. On top of that, they were unable to confirm whether the Star Palace Master was dead or alive. Hence, they did not dare to act recklessly. In no time, the rankings in the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list underwent some changes again. At that point, Jian Wushuang, who was originally ranked 30 in the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list, was ranked 22. Chapter 1868. Calm on the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list. They recorded super experts on the peak of the universe in eternal chaotic world. For the experts on the list, any increase of ranking would require convincing battle achievement. It was extremely difficult. But then, Jian Wushuang had risen from the 30th place to the 22nd place directly. He increased a total of 8 rankings in an instant. Most interestingly, the original 22nd place on Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list had been Emperor God Qianling from Soaring Heaven King Palace. Jian Wushuang shared great resentment with Soaring Heaven King Palace, but he had never fought with Emperor God Qianling. Then, Jian Wushuang had raised his ranking directly while Emperor God Qianling had fallen to the 23rd place. Of course, regarding Jian Wushuang's current ranking, the experts in Sanctuary Alliance were doubtful. Some thought that Jian Wushuang had relied on his 4 Hongjun Golden Sword to suppress Palace Master Wu Luo in the 25th place miserably and his power should be above Emperor God Qianling's. But there were some who thought although Jian Wushuang's Hongjun Golden Sword was strong, Emperor God Qianling could withstand it directly. Once the 4 Hongjun Golden Swords failed to create great advantage for Jian Wushuang, Emperor God Qianling could totally defeat him. Both parties had their reasoning, but no one could clearly determine who was stronger. Time flew past. In the blink of an eye, 280 years had passed. In the 280 years, eternal chaotic world was calm. The forces and experts who were preparing to pound at Lineage of Star had reined themselves in and no one dared to act hastily. The victory of Lineage of Star in the fight with Abysmal Palace had served as a deterrent. Even Abysmal Palace, who was in the top 3 major forces in Sanctuary Alliance, were defeated by Lineage of Star and suffered great losses. Which other major forces in Sanctuary Alliance had the power and confidence to fight Lineage of Star alone? As for teaming up, the forces and experts considered it before. However, the biggest problem still lay there, which was if the Master of Star Palace had really died. As long as the answer was uncertain, the forces and experts wouldn't dare to join forces. Because once they united to attack Lineage of Star, it would be a decisive battle. By then, if the Master of Star Palace wasn't dead and they started to massacre in madness, the forces and experts would be doomed. During the calm times, Lineage of Star had received an extremely precious chance to gasp for air. In the hall, Jian Wushuang, Hall Master Yuan, Hall Master Jiu Xin and Hall Master Nai Yun gathered together. As for Emperor God Ju Yin, Emperor God Ju Yin was a guest elder after all. Lineage of Star wouldn't restrict him too much and it was temporarily unsuitable for Emperor God Ju Yin to know the secret in Lineage of Star. Hall Master Yuan, how did the recruitment go? Jian Wushuang looked at Hall Master Yuan. Not bad. Currently, there are 4 Almighties that made a decision and they are willing to be guest elders in Lineage of Star. Once Lineage of Star is in danger, they will lend a helping hand. Among the 4 Almighties, there are 3 Sir Gods and 1 Emperor God, Emperor God Xian Wu. Hall Master Yuan said. Emperor God Xian Wu? Jian Wushuang was surprised. He knew of Emperor God Xian Wu. Among Emperor God experts in Eternal Chaotic World, his power could be considered at the bottom. In terms of attack power, he was slightly stronger than an ordinary Sir God. However, He was best at defense power. Not only was his defense power strong, he also knew many kinds of defense skills, secret skills, and powers. Although Emperor God Xian Wu's power is ordinary, he is truly an Emperor God expert after all. To Lineage of Star, he is also a helping hand, Jian Wushuang said. Not bad. Hall Master Yuan nodded and he smiled. Actually, Emperor God Xian Wu is actually not weak, especially his defense power and body protection power. He is only not too good in strength and close combat skill. He knew that too. Hence, when he was wandering in the second lair and the third lair, and also when he was wandering in ancient Mysteryland, he took the risk to wander in dangerous places. His goal was to get a chaotic divine treasure level divine weapon that suited him. However, he wasn't very lucky and he didn't get anything. Then, Lineage of Star offered to give him a suitable chaotic divine treasure level attack divine weapon, and that made him really happy. He even said on the spot that the divine weapon itself was worth his life. Then, Emperor God Xian Wu already came out from ancient Mysteryland. I reckon he will arrive at Lineage of Star in no time. Emperor God Xian Wu and the other 3 Sir Gods who agreed to become guest elders, take good care of them. You can pass them the agreed chaotic divine weapon first, but they have to guarantee that they will lend a helping hand when Lineage of Star is in danger. Otherwise, if take advantage of Lineage of Star but run away during crucial times, that's not something we want, Jian Wushuang exhorted. Don't worry. These experts that I have invited, their reputation are not bad. As they agreed, they shouldn't go back on their words. Plus, when I give them their chaotic divine treasure, I will, of course, set some restrictions. Hall Master Yuan said that'd be best. Jian Wushuang nodded and then he looked around. In recent years, the forces and experts in Sanctuary Alliance were quite calm. It seems that the fight with Abysmal Palace took great effect. Now, unless Ancient Mysteryland closes and they confirm that the Master of Star Palace has passed away, no one will dare to take action against Lineage of Star. Hence, I will prepare to head to Emperor Sword Sect now. Before I go, I will leave all Dao soldiers behind as well. Besides, Jian Yi will stay back in Lineage of Star. If, during the time when I cultivate in Emperor Sword Palace, Lineage of Star has any problem, you should be able to deal with it with Jian Yi and the Dao soldiers. Jian Wushuang knew that 100 bronze-armored Dao soldiers was an extremely fierce fighting power. On top of that, Jian Yi's current power was slightly stronger than himself. With him attending garrison duty personally, Jian Wushuang wouldn't be worried when he cultivated in Emperor Sword Palace. After delegating tasks, Jian Wushuang headed to Emperor Sword Sect alone. Emperor Sword Sect wasn't within 10 cultivation sanctuaries but in the vast void near the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. Jian Wushuang departed from Lineage of Star via space wormhole. It only took 10 years to reach the void where Emperor Sword Sect was. That's where Emperor Sword Sect is? Jian Wushuang stood in the void as he looked at the piece of floating land while he revealed a creepy smile. Chapter 1869, Emperor Sword Sect. In another few years' time, it will be the day where the Emperor Sword Palace opens again, and it is obvious that the Emperor Sword Sect has already made preparations for it. Since they knew that some people would come to visit them during this period of time, they actually sent a Sir God expert to welcome them. Jian Wushuang stroked his nose. He had already realized the existence of a white-haired old man in front of the entrance of the Emperor Sword Sect. This white-haired old man stood at his position like an old monk who was sitting in meditation, and he did not care about the normal disciples and experts who entered or left the Emperor Sword Sect in the slightest. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate either. His body turned vague and he walked forward. While walking, Jian Wushuang released a portion of his god power intentionally. Upon feeling the existence of the god power, the white-haired old man who was sitting in meditation opened his eyes immediately and looked in the direction of Jian Wushuang. I am Qian Guzi. I wonder which friend of ours has come to the Emperor Sword Sect. The white-haired old man's hearty voice reverberated across the area. Qian Guzi? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. In no time, his body stopped before Qian Guzi and came into view. As the distance between them got shorter, Qian Guzi felt the aura that Jian Wushuang emitted and his expression changed at once. When Jian Wushuang's body came into shape completely and when he saw his looks clearly, Qian Guzi frowned. So it's the famous Sword Emperor. Nice to meet you. Qian Guzi greeted Jian Wushuang to show his respect. Although Jian Wushuang was only a real god, his abilities were already displayed. Chen Guzi was merely a normal Sir God. As such, he naturally treated Jian Wushuang with respect. I have heard that the Emperor Sword Palace that your sect controls will open up after another period of time, and I am here to pay a visit. Jian Wushuang laughed. As expected, he is here for the Emperor Sword Palace. Chen Guzi's heart felt heavy. The Emperor Sword Palace opening up soon was not a secret to begin with. Hence, during this period of time, quite a number of experts had paid a visit to the Emperor Sword sect. Jian Wushuang was an expert who was proficient in sword principles. Hence, it was normal for him to pay a visit. However, there had been some episodes between the Emperor Sword Sect Master and the lineage of Star Palace Master in the past. Sword Emperor, please wait a moment. Let me first relay a message to my sect master to tell him that you have come, Chen Guzi said. You have to first send him a message to ask him? Aren't you here especially to wait for the large number of experts who made their way here to pay a visit? Could it be that you cannot make up your mind? Or are you trying to say that the Emperor Sword sect does not welcome me? Jian Wushuang looked at Chen Guzi. How could I dare to do that? Chen Guzi shook his head repeatedly and laughed. As Sword Emperor is a super existence who is ranked 22nd on the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list, the Emperor Sword sect will naturally be afraid of you if you come here personally. I am now sending a message to my palace master to allow him to make ample preparations to welcome you, Sword Emperor. Oh, is that so? Jian Wushuang laughed jokingly and did not say much. Chen Guzi sent the news of the arrival of Jian Wushuang to the Emperor Sword sect master right away. In a giant palace at the core of the Emperor Sword sect, there were figures which were emitting a large amount of aura sitting there. These people were all experts who had come to pay a visit before the Emperor Sword Palace opened. Moreover, most of these experts were proficient in sword principles. The Emperor Sword Palace was a place of opportunity which Sword Emperor Dugu from the First Era had left behind. At that moment, the greatest opportunity in the Emperor Sword Palace was the sword principle inheritance. For the sword principle inheritance, only people who possessed the sword principle inheritance token had the right to obtain it. However, there were merely 5 inheritance tokens. Moreover, 2 of them had always been in the hands of the Emperor Sword Palace. In other words, there were only 3 sword principle inheritance tokens that were circulating around the outside world. Every time the Emperor Sword Palace opened, only 3 experts from the outside world could go deep into the Emperor Sword Palace. However, there were some small opportunities for sword principles in the Emperor Sword Palace. Hence, they were still attractive to quite a number of experts who were proficient in sword principles. Therefore, even though they did not possess sword principle inheritance tokens, every time the Emperor Sword Palace opened, some experts would go out of their way to come over. The person who sat at the highest point of the hall was a red-robed man with dashing eyebrows. He was the Emperor Sword Sect Master. However, at that moment, he was holding on to a wine cup and chatting with a purple-clothed woman who was before a long narrow table. I did not expect that the Emperor Sword Palace's opening this time around could actually get you, Luo Xianxia, to come personally as well. My Emperor Sword Sect is really honored by your presence, the Emperor Sword Sect Master purred, and his words were filled with the intention to earn her favor. However, the purple-clothed woman's expression was extremely cold and she merely used a few words to barely deal with the Emperor Sword Sect Master's words. The Emperor Sword Sect Master was not upset in the slightest. After all, he knew what kind of temper Luo Xianxia had. Just then, from outside the entrance of the sect, Chen Guzi's message came. What? Sword Emperor? The Emperor Sword Sect Master's expression changed and he could not help but murmur, this Sword Emperor has actually come as well? There were no grudges between him and Jian Wushuang. Moreover, there were no big episodes between the Emperor Sword Sect and the lineage of Star either. However, he had once suffered big losses in the hands of the Star Palace Master. As such, he still harbored some hatred toward the Star Palace Master. Thus, it was difficult for him to not vent his anger on the experts of the lineage of Star. Hence, with regards to Jian Wushuang, he did not really welcome him. Everyone who comes is a guest. Since he has come, please let him in, the Emperor Sword Sect Master messaged Chen Guzi. In no time, Chen Guzi led Jian Wushuang to the palace. The moment Jian Wushuang appeared, the large number of experts in the palace who were originally chatting and drinking quietened down right away. At that moment, All their eyes were locked onto Jian Wushuang. Without even needing Chen Guzi or the Emperor's Sword Sect Master to introduce him, all those experts already recognized him. As they had recognized Jian Wushuang's identity, the atmosphere in the palace became silent instantly. Their mighty name was a good shelter. In the eternal chaotic world, Jian Wushuang's fierce name was too great. In particular, within the recent thousands of years, it was unknown as to how many almighties had died at his hands, and even a good number of emperor gods had died at his hands as well. As for the 10 over experts present, although all of them were almighties, apart from Luo Xianxia, no one could remain calm when they looked at Jian Wushuang. Moreover, there were a few people who felt terrified when they saw Jian Wushuang. For these people, the sects that they were in had huge grudges against the lineage of Star. Hence, when they saw Jian Wushuang, a murderous god, it was difficult for them to not feel fearful. After all, if Jian Wushuang were to go crazy and attack them, they would be doomed. However, fortunately, after Jian Wushuang entered the palace, he did not care about those people at all. Instead, his eyes locked onto Luo Xianxia right away. I did not expect her to be here as well. Jian Wushuang was surprised. With regards to Luo Xianxia, Jian Wushuang had never had any dealings with her before and he had not seen her before. However, with regards to Luo Xianxia's abilities, Jian Wushuang knew about them well. Peak Emperor God. Moreover, she was ranked 21st in the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list, which was right above him. Chapter 1870. Deliberately made things difficult. Just as Jian Wushuang looked at Luo Xianxia, she looked at Jian Wushuang as well. In her cold eyes, there was a flash of surprise, but it disappeared very quickly. It's an honor to receive Sword Emperor. Please forgive me for not traveling far to welcome you, Emperor Sword Sect Master said. Although he wanted Emperor Sword to forgive him, he spoke highly of himself and stayed seated and never stood when he was talking to Jian Wushuang, who was a more powerful figure. It was obvious that he didn't care about Jian Wushuang. I am only a junior. How could I make Emperor Sword Sect Master welcome me personally? Jian Wushuang smiled and wasn't bothered. I heard that Sword Emperor is decisive in killing people. Whoever offends you will end miserably. But from what it seems, you aren't behaving as the rumors say. Sword Emperor is quite a friendly person, Emperor Sword Sect Master said with a smile. Friendly? Jian Wushuang smiled but didn't say anything more. Sword Emperor, I wonder why you came to Emperor Sword Sect today? Emperor Sword Sect Master finally asked. Emperor Sword Palace is going to open. I came here, of course, for Emperor Sword Palace's Sword Principal Inheritance Token. This is my Sword Principal Inheritance Token. Jian Wushuang took out his Sword Principal Inheritance Token. The moment the surrounding experts saw the Sword Principal Inheritance Token, they were surprised. Emperor Sword Sect Master saw it and he creased his eyebrows. He knew that Jian Wushuang had come for Emperor Sword Palace, but he hadn't known that Jian Wushuang had a Sword Principal Inheritance Token. The Sword Principal Inheritance Token was hard to get. Among the almighties there, only Luo Xianxia had a Sword Principal Inheritance Token. Everyone else didn't have one. Emperor Sword Sect Master, I heard that I can enter Emperor Sword Palace to receive Sword Principal as long as I have Sword Principal Inheritance Token. I wonder if it's true. Jian Wushuang asked. Sword Emperor, don't worry. Emperor Sword Sect Master smiled. Sword Principal Inheritance Token is the only proof to enter Emperor Sword Palace and receive Sword Principal. This is true. However, over the years, Emperor Sword Palace has been opened many times and the appearance of Sword Principal Inheritance Token is well known to the public. Naturally, there are many people with wicked intentions who forged the Sword Principal Inheritance Token. The outer appearance and the aura are the same as the real one, but in actual fact, it might be an imitation. Emperor Sword Sect Master, what you're saying is that the Sword Principal Inheritance Token in my hand is fake. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes slightly. The surrounding people gasped a breath of cold air and thought that Emperor Sword Sect Master had the guts to say nonsense. There were genuine and imitated Sword Principal Inheritance Tokens. That was true. However, firstly, forgery of Sword Principal Inheritance Token was very rare. Secondly, even if it was really forgery, it would at most be circulated in eternal chaotic world and be sold to people who didn't know what it was at a high price. In other words, people who had more money than sense. Who would come to Emperor Sword Sect with a forged sword principal inheritance token? Everyone knew that Emperor Sword Sect could differentiate true or false sword principal inheritance tokens. Under such circumstances, weren't those who brought forged tokens asking to be snubbed? Besides, if it was a universe god or real god who took out sword principal inheritance token, it might be a forged one. However, the one who had taken out the sword principal inheritance token was Jian Wushuang. How could Sword Emperor take out a forged item? It was impossible, but Emperor Sword Sect Master had said so. It was obvious that he wanted to deliberately make it difficult for Jian Wushuang. Emperor Sword Sect Master chuckled when he noticed Jian Wushuang's change of expression. Sword Emperor, don't misunderstand me. I didn't say that the sword principal inheritance token that you brought is fake, but Emperor Sword Palace only opens once every 1 million years and there is a limited quota. It's best to be more careful. You're right. Jian Wushuang looked calm. No one could guess his feelings. If so, Emperor Sword Sect Master shall determine the authenticity of the sword principal inheritance token personally. Then, Jian Wushuang threw the sword principal inheritance token in his hand to Emperor Sword Sect Master. Emperor Sword Sect Master caught it and spread his palm. He didn't need to probe as he already knew that the sword principal inheritance token was real. He had done it with the intention to make it difficult for Jian Wushuang, but he didn't expect Jian Wushuang to give him the sword principal inheritance token directly. Wouldn't Jian Wushuang be worried that he would pull some tricks on sword principal inheritance token so it would become fake? Sword Emperor's sword principal inheritance token is true. Emperor Sword Sect Master chuckled and he passed sword principal inheritance token back to Jian Wushuang. As you have checked the authenticity of the token, can I enter Sword Emperor Palace now? Jian Wushuang asked coldly. Yes, of course. But Sword Emperor should know that Emperor Sword Palace is controlled by Emperor Sword Sect as well. Among the 5 sword principal inheritance tokens, there are 3 tokens that Emperor Sword Sect took the initiative to distribute, including the one in Sword Emperor's hand. Since Emperor Sword Sect has offered such a great opportunity, we, of course, expect things in return. Emperor Sword Sect Master squinted his eyes and smiled at Jian Wushuang. Of course, I know that. I wonder what is the price that Emperor Sword Sect Master would like me to pay? Jian Wushuang looked calm. There was no free lunch in the world. Jian Wushuang knew that concept really well. Emperor Sword Sect controlled Emperor Sword Palace and they took the initiative to send out sword principal inheritance token. Their purpose of doing so was to receive sufficient benefits. The experts who had visited Emperor Sword Sect, even those who didn't have sword principal inheritance tokens but could receive meager sword principals, had to pay a price too. Emperor Sword Sect isn't asking for much. To Sword Emperor, it is nothing. 3 attack divine weapons and 1 defense armor. Emperor Sword Sect Master smiled. That simple? Jian Wushuang lifted his head to look at Emperor Sword Sect Master. He flipped his hand and took out 3 Real God Limited Chaotic Unique Treasure Level Divine Weapons and a Real God Limited Chaotic Unique Treasure Level Defense Armor. I wonder if Emperor Sword Sect Master is happy with these items? Jian Wushuang asked. Real God Limited Chaotic Unique Treasure was valuable too. The total of 4 treasures should be worth more than 30,000 doctrine gems. It was already considered a costly price. However, Emperor Sword Sect Master looked at the 3 divine weapons and set of armor in disdain and said, I think Sword Emperor misunderstood me. The divine weapon and armor that I mentioned aren't unique treasures but chaotic divine treasures. What? Everyone in the hall was shocked. Jian Wushuang's eyes dilated in shock when he heard what Emperor Sword Sect Master said.